The market changes direction as traders brace for a low volume day. In today's cover story, corporations clearing up policies on climate change. Plus, why GoPro is keeping traders on the edge of their seats, and Reel of Fortune, the film studio rolling out non-stop hits at the box office. First Business starts now.
You're watching First Business. Financial news, analysis, and today's investment ideas.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Andrew Miles. It's Thursday, September 25th. In today's First Look, stocks stage a comeback. After 2 sessions of triple-digit sell-offs, the Dow raced up 154 points on Wednesday, the NASDAQ 46 and the S&P 15. Gold slipped $4 and oil caught a bid, edging up $1.49. Yahoo is in a 1-year lockup of remaining Alibaba shares. Yahoo still has a 15% stake in Alibaba, which IPO'd last week. Apple's iPhone trouble. The tech giant is pulling its iOS 8 update, and there are customer complaints. The new iPhone 6 Plus is bending in their pockets. Retail analysts say to expect round-the-clock shopping this Thanksgiving, with more stores staying open. And here's the situation. Mike Sorrentino, former MTV reality TV star The Jersey Shore, is pleading not guilty to failing to properly pay taxes on $9 million in income. Trader Todd Horwich of Average Joe Options always knows the market situation. Good to see you there, Bob.
Good morning, Angie. What's up?
Once again, it's a stock market. Are you short, even though we had this big rebound yesterday?
You know, I am shorting, and everything's up my equity right now, but I am shorting into 2000 S&P, and then I will again short up to 2011. If we break above 2011, I would assume we're going to go out and take out the highs once again.
Bed Bath & Beyond had a bounce yesterday. Is this a stock you would consider buying, and what does it tell you about consumers?
You know, I think Bed Bath & Beyond is a great company, and when they figured out their problem, it took them about 10 years ago, they actually figured out what was wrong, and it was their coupon policy. But once they figured that out, that their people weren't getting full value and they were getting a discount on the buy, they started to make money. It's a really nice company. They've got all kinds of goods, from discounts to more expensive. They really appeal to the average consumer, and I think they have a very bright future. I am a little bit concerned about what their margins will be going forward, but I do think that they're certainly a one that if I was going to play it, I would only play Bed Bath & Beyond from the long side.
What about the bond market? How is Treasury volume? Is it growing?
You know what? It's funny. Volume has been, a little bit weak and a little bit quiet. And we're seeing, I think a lot of the bond buying you're seeing right now is more out of China, as they have to try to continue to manipulate the dollar. As you see, our dollar is now at 5-year highs, and there's a play being made in there. But overall, volumes are really kind of light.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Chuck Coppola joins me now with this morning's IPO Watch. Good morning, Chuck.
Angie, perhaps it was the irrational exuberance over Alibaba, because the biggest bank IPO since the financial crisis fizzled at its market debut. Shares of Citizens Financial Group priced in Wednesday night at $21.50. The stock closed Wednesday at $23.08. CyberArk Software, on the other hand, soared 84% in its opening day. The company makes software that protects organizations from cyber attacks. Coming to the market tomorrow, Travelport Worldwide. The company's platform links hotels and airlines with travel agencies. The ticker symbol is TVPT. The midpoint price range is $15.
Bond King Bill Gross is cooperating with regulators as they dig for information on PIMCO's Total Return Exchange Traded Fund. Gross is the founder of that fund. The Wall Street Journal reports the SEC is investigating whether the company inflated returns on its total return ETF. Reports say PIMCO is under fire from investors this year over the fund's poor performance. A spokesman says PIMCO has been cooperating with the SEC. We believe our pricing procedures are entirely appropriate.
In today's cover story, for the first time, China's government says it will take steps to reduce carbon emissions, but not before they peak sometime in the near future. Still, it's a pledge that joins the growing chorus of nations and companies that see what's good for the environment is also good for business. China's air quality has been described as resembling nuclear winter, slowing photosynthesis in plants, shrouding Beijing in pollution so thick the number of particles that can enter the bloodstream are 20 times higher than the World Health Organization's safe level. 3/4 of China's electricity comes from coal.
When I got also the airport in Beijing and I started coughing.
They know that they can't keep burning coal, and they have to make a change.
This week, China's Vice Premier Zhang Guoli told a UN summit that China's carbon emissions would soon peak, but that the country would aim to reduce the amount to nearly half the level as in 2005.
It's going to be a huge area where there's going to be a lot of spotlight, a lot of commitment from the central government across to support for the private enterprises, but implementing it will be obviously in stages.
China is not alone in its climate change efforts. 32 countries and 40 companies, including Kellogg, L'Oreal, and Nestle, pledged to cut deforestation in half by 2020. Clear-cutting for palm oil plantations has destroyed old-growth forests in Indonesia.
It's definitely becoming a much bigger issue for a lot of investors.
Apple CEO Tim Cook goes even further. He says environmental stewardship is also good for economics. Apple data centers in 4 states are completely powered by renewable energy. Cook says Apple will now focus on emissions at its suppliers, most of them overseas.
Apple is such a big company and such an influential company that I think anything they do is going to have an effect.
But Siva Yam thinks China's transition away from coal may cost some economic growth.
They will probably slow down the pace to improve the environment.
The UN summit was the largest of its kind in 5 years. It precedes new global climate agreement talks that'll happen in Paris next year.
The stakes are high for Russia's next move. Japan is no longer accepting securities from several Russian banks and is tightening restrictions on arms exported to Russia. President Obama yesterday condemned Russia for its aggression toward Ukraine. And earlier this month, he handed down sanctions effectively shutting off Russian oil companies from drilling exploration projects in U.S. territory. Russia has threatened to stop supplying the Eurozone with natural gas.
Lockheed Martin stock is heading north on a deal with South Korea. Shares jumped $2 yesterday after the South Korean government purchased $7 billion worth of fighter jets from Lockheed. The aerospace company scored the contract after months of negotiations. South Korea will use the 40 F-35A fighter jets as defense against North Korea's military threat.
In the U.S., student debt rockets to an all-time high. Experian reports that debt from student loans has reached a staggering $1.2 trillion, a jump of 84% since 2008. Despite the increase in debt, the default rate on federal loans is dropping. Federal student loan defaults fell to a surprising 13.7%. That's down 10% from last year.
The majority of Americans who have credit cards are able to get late payment fees waived and even a lower interest rate just by asking. Creditcards.com reports 9 out of 10 cardholders have made the request, and it's worked out in their favor. However, Matt Schultz of Creditcards.com says people with higher incomes are likely to get the best treatment by credit card companies.
You're talking about older folks who are a little more established in their career, a little higher income, and who maybe have had a longer time to establish that track record. So that might make them look less risky to the bank and make the bank more likely to take a chance on them as far as giving them a break with this fee.
Schultz adds that 79% of people who are 50 years old or older who requested a lower interest rate on their credit cards were approved. That compares to just 33% of 18 to 29-year-olds who were granted a better rate.
Walmart is giving a go at banking. Walmart is rolling out a mobile checking account with prepaid card company Green Dot. The checking accounts cost $8.95 per month and will have no minimum balance or overdraft fees. Walmart says monthly fees will be waived if consumers have direct deposit of $500 or more. Green Dot shares banked a 24% gain yesterday. Walmart stock added almost 2%. That stock has struggled this year.
Jimmy John's sandwich chain says a hacker stole credit card and debit card information at more than 200 of its locations between the middle of June and September 5th. The Illinois-based fast food company says it learned July 30th that an intruder had taken login credentials from a payment vendor to break in. Forensics experts are on the case, and encrypted swipe machines have been installed to prevent another hack attack. Meanwhile, fraudulent charges made by Home Depot hackers are showing up this week. Criminals are said to be siphoning money from bank accounts to pay for items ranging from groceries to electronics.
New home sales go to the next level. Single-family home sales increased 18% in August. The Census Bureau says that is the highest level in more than 6 years. The solid numbers are released as the Treasury Department expands an effort to help struggling homeowners. Tim Bowler, a Deputy Assistant Secretary at the Department of Treasury, says even after the financial crisis, the number of Americans behind on their mortgages is alarmingly high.
We've made actually quite a bit of progress over the last couple of years in reducing that number. At the height of the crisis, that was almost 1 in 10, and now we're down to around 1 in 17. But from our perspective, we still think that's far, far too many, and it's a reason why we're once again reaching out to homeowners.
The Department of Treasury is promoting free federal mortgage assistance programs for homeowners to prevent foreclosures, which ticked up across the nation last month. Homeowners have until December 2016 to apply.
Amazon is going on a so-called secret hiring spree. Reuters reports that the company will hire 3,700 full-time workers at its hardware unit called Lab 126. The lab is located in Silicon Valley and makes the e-tailers line of Kindles. The hiring will happen over a span of 5 years. Reports suggest Amazon's making consumer gadgets a priority as it tries to compete with Apple and Google.
Blackberry turns in earnings tomorrow, but today its new smartphone has analysts talking. It's called Passport and sells for $600 without a contract and $250 with one. It's the first major new phone from Blackberry in almost 2 years. Crackberry fans will be glad to know there's a touch screen and a double keyboard aimed at what Blackberry calls the power professional.
This is designed for professionals. It's designed for folks that live on Word documents, spreadsheets, look at financial information, that need a competitive edge, that need something that's a bit faster, a bit more convenient for doing the things they do. Think of this as a tool for certain kinds of pros.
Tech analyst Rob Enderle also commends Passport's strong security features and longer battery life.
Rapper Dr. Dre tops the Forbes list of richest hip-hop stars. Dre makes Forbes Cash Kings list with a whopping $620 million in pre-tax earnings. Dre is co-founder of Beats Music Company, popular for its headphones. Beats was acquired by Apple for $3 billion. Dre's earnings from the fiscal year ending in June are the most for any musician in any genre Forbes has ever evaluated.
Checking the economic calendar for today, it's initial and continuing unemployment claims, durable goods orders, and natural gas inventories. On the earnings calendar, Micron Technology, Nike, Diamond Foods, and Scholastic. Still to come, the Fox formula, how that film studio is making a killing at the box office. Plus, why freelance workers are in a gray area of the labor market, and the company that is setting a no-limits policy on vacation time. We'll be right back. Talk about taking off. Billionaire Richard Branson, founder of Virgin Airlines, believes employees should be able to take time off from work whenever they want. Branson says in a blog he is introducing the non-vacation policy at Virgin offices in the U.S., and he encourages all Virgin subsidiaries to stop counting vacation days. The business mogul says he gets his inspiration from Netflix, which does not track vacation time. Well, first business is always hard at work. Here's Bill Mueller to clear up confusion over freelance workers. Bill.
Angie, here was the headline in the American Bar Association Journal. Seismic Ninth Circuit rulings nix FedEx claim its drivers aren't employees, could cost company millions. Well, there's a lot of corporate confusion apparently in America about the hiring and use of independent contractors, and court rulings like that will probably prod companies to eventually get it right. Business attorney Kristen Prinz is principal of the Prinz law firm. Kristen, what's the problem here?
There's a lot of confusion. I mean, really the problem comes down to misclassification. FedEx thought that these people are all independent contractors, and it turns out that the government thinks that they're not, that they should be employees.
So what's the motive for hiring independent contractors? Is it that the company is saving money, doesn't have to pay benefits?
Yes, the motive is the company doesn't have to pay overtime, doesn't have to pay the employment taxes, and doesn't have to provide benefits. It's a huge savings for a company if they really are independent contractors. Now we're seeing it's a huge expense if you make the mistake.
So what does the law say about contractors and how they're supposed to be used? Is it clear?
It's not clear. What it really comes down to is, do you exercise discretion and control over these employees? And there's a lot of gray area in that. A lot of these drivers are businesses, but they're independent, they're on their own, and they really are acting at the discretion of FedEx. I got a caveat though, FedEx is appealing this and still disputes that they're acting within FedEx.
Well, it suggests that there is, in fact, gray area about that. I wonder if attorneys need to get working, or does the Congress have to redefine the guidelines for this?
I don't think anybody wants Congress to redefine the guidelines for this, and I'm not sure that they would do that anyway. A lot of it is really just how the law is being applied, and companies have to be a lot more careful than they used to be.
All right, companies beware. Caveat emptor, I guess, is the message here. Kristen Prince, thanks so much.
Thank you, Bill.
Coming up, a snapshot of the latest rally in GoPro and Fox on a hot streak, the growing list of breakout films at the box office. Next. Fox's tops at the box office. Our movie man is here to talk about the Foxtrot. Good morning to you, Eric.
Good morning.
I couldn't help myself with
Sure.
that one. Thank you. All right, let's take a look at this big win this year by Fox Film Studios. Let's
Yes.
call them the Big Eight because this has been a hot streak for the film company.
Most certainly. Well, I mean, going back to April, starting with Rio 2, the sort of the unprecedented sort of perfect success that they had over the summer. I mean, these are films that, you know, the grosses speak for themselves, but the fact is that the way that the budgets have been handled, that all these films have managed to cut a profit for Fox.
So along with Rio, it was The Other Woman, which I saw and loved, X-Men, Days of Future Past, The Fault in Our Stars, How to Train Your Dragon, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Let's Be Cops, and The Maze Runner.
Yeah, and The Maze Runner, which, you know, was just #1 at the box office this past weekend, sort of a young adult novel where the budget was sort of kept, you know, to a minimum, and they've had, you know, it's got off to a really good start in the U.S. It's made over almost $50 million overseas so far. It's going to be in profit for Fox, so it's going to be the 8th one in a row for them.
And it's not over because coming to theaters soon, Gone Girl. That's going to be an instant hit.
We're going to talk about that more next week, but that's going to be a thing.
Also coming up for Fox, Book of Life, The Penguins of Madagascar, The Pyramid, Exodus, Gods and Kings, and Night at the Museum, Secret of the Tomb.
Yeah, so they got some sequels in there. Penguins of Madagascar, I think, is going to be huge. This is the best part of those movies are those penguins.
You had me at the Penguins.
Yeah,
for sure.
and Gone Girl is going to be a really interesting movie with David Fincher. We'll talk more about that.
Last weekend at the box office, as Eric already mentioned, it was The Maze Runner coming in at a clear #1, followed by A Walk Among the Tombstones, This Is Where I Leave You, No Good Deed, and Dolphin Tale 2. Now, coming out this weekend, a couple of films you had the opportunity to screen, The Equalizer and The Box Trolls.
Yeah, and I like both of them. I mean, they're two very different audiences. Obviously, The Equalizer is for adult audiences, a very hard R action film with Denzel Washington. Who is, you know, very solid, does very solid numbers at the box office, and I think it's going to be a very clear, very hefty #1, I think, for them this weekend with that Sony. They could definitely use a hit, the Sony Studios. And Box Trolls from the Leica Studios, who did Coraline and Paranorman, really interesting, dark, animated films. And the Box Trolls, very weird film, but kids might have a little trouble getting into it. It sort of has a kind of a Monty Python vibe to it, but it's also quite enjoyable, and I hope that finds an audience because the Leica Studios are doing some very interesting animated work.
Maybe the audience will be with adults on that film.
Yeah, well, I would hope so. I mean, I hope that, you know, the audiences, a film like Box Trolls finds an audience with both adults and kids. I've a feeling that, you know, adults are going to go see The Equalizer, probably drop their kids off the Box Trolls.
Good to have you here. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Still ahead, the wild adventure of trading GoPro stock. That's next in Chart Talk. CMC Trading joins us now. And Matt, what an adventure it's been for GoPro investors. This stock has been a mover. Would you be a buyer at the current level?
I wouldn't buy it here, but if you could rewind a few months and give me another shot, I'd buy some there.
What do you think is motivating the buying in GoPro that we've seen of late? Polaroid is out with a competing product now. Where's the stock going?
Well, I think it's a stock that's been on the forefront of investors' minds. It's been kind of a slow market, but an up market. A lot of people getting interested in their technology, more people watching the videos on YouTube. It's in the media, so I think it's a whole bunch of issues really to helping drive the momentum higher on this stock.
What do you think about the trading conditions today? What kind of volume will we see? Rosh Hashanah is underway here.
Well, usually it's a little bit lighter. The old traders' adage is to sell Rosh Hashanah and buy Yom Kippur. So we'll see if how the market reacts and if we do go a little bit lower.
I love that. It actually makes sense because money managers are squaring up because we're getting closer to the end of the quarter as well.
Yeah, always a little truth in those old trading floor sayings.
Well, thanks for being on the show today, and Happy New Year.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have for today. Coming up tomorrow, Traders Unplugged. The guys will be here with their say on whether to rush to buy gold. We hope you'll rise and shine for our show. From all of us at First Business, thank you for watching.